Southeast Asia Backpacker was set up as a printed magazine many years back, 2008, I believe it was, by my partner and mother of my child, Nikki. And she was on a backpacking adventure. She left at the age of 23, left her job in the UK and went off to Kathmandu to start her adventures. And after a while of that, found herself wondering how to continue. Basically, she didn't want to go back to working in advertising, which is what she was in before, and brainstormed various different ideas, and in the end decided that she would launch a printed magazine, and looked into how that could possibly work, and in the end published the first copy, sent it out from Bangkok, and it caught on from there, and she started getting it delivered around hostels all across the region. It was always launched from Bangkok, so she'd have it printed in Bangkok and then popped onto buses and carts and all sorts. So-and-so's cousin in Laos will get sent a big pack and then distribute it through Laos, and someone else will get some sent to Vietnam. And so, yeah, for several years it was getting printed and sent around hostels, mainly across the region. People carry them around and drop them off in other places. It was just spread about. Well, over the years, it's moved away eventually from being a printed magazine, and now it's all online. And I suppose it kind of behaves a bit more like a site tends to now, because as a printed magazine, people were more interested in stories and poems and jokes and crosswords and all number of things that they don't search for on the internet in quite the same way. So you find yourself looking at what people search for and working out how to answer their questions more. So the nature of quite a lot of it has changed like that. And then we have to put in a bit of a conscious effort to make sure that there are still stories being written in the same way that there used to be. You may work out here and there how to bring some of the other things in, like poems, which is not something we do very much of now, but would probably quite like to. So what it offers to users is obviously information about the places they can travel, and generally how to do that as cheaply and as independently as possible, and to move them away from organizing things through travel agents. Trying to build confidence in people so that they can feel enthusiastic about just arriving, generally in Bangkok, maybe in Kuala Lumpur, a few spots that people enter Southeast Asia. And yeah, one of the primary goals of the site is to encourage people just to turn up to feel like they can do that, because basically, especially backpackers, you think of youngsters normally going and staying in a dorm, and so it pretty much works like that. They arrive in Bangkok, they go to a dorm, to a hostel, where they'll meet a load of other people. They'll be scared for the first couple of hours, and then they'll go out and eat some delicious food and have a massage for next to nothing, and decide that this was the best decision they ever made. We also built a booking platform a few years back so that we could sell people's trips, courses, various activities, various different types. Mostly what we have people doing are treks, lots of treks, and Muay Thai. We have a number of Muay Thai schools that we work with, which is becoming particularly popular, I think, after COVID. We're recording this at a time where the world is sort of opening up. Thailand has started allowing travellers back in. A couple of the countries in the region are letting people into one or two specific places. It's only just beginning. People are very drawn to taking Muay Thai courses at the moment because they've been locked in their houses for so long, and there's an appeal to go in and training in amongst rice paddies and getting up at 5 in the morning and running through these wonderful green fields. A fair bit of diving. We're talking at a very strange time because lots of stuff isn't happening, basically. So there hasn't been any travel in the region for a long time. So we're looking at stuff that used to happen and will happen again. So we'll see how all of that goes. The stereotypical backpacker that you think of still exists, certainly. They're not the only type, but they certainly do exist, and you find there are pockets. Goa in India was particularly one. There's an island in Thailand, Koh Phangan, which is where the most famous of the full moon parties is. Here's some of these places where, yeah, you get your very stereotypical dreadlocked hippie, go and study yoga, tantra, take quite a lot of drugs, and live in a wooden hut for as long as possible. Certainly a lot of that still happens. I think quite a lot of older people quite like to consider themselves backpackers now, possibly ones who were alive during the 60s and 70s but didn't see themselves in that way, or were too young at that point, and saw themselves as different and not hippies, and now they're quite wanting to take hold of the word backpacker. Many people see it as a more adventurous way to travel, and and to a degree there's not really a huge amount that it means, except for the fact that you carry a backpack. So a backpacker is a person who travels with a backpack as opposed to a suitcase. It could be one way of looking at it, but I think there's a reading between the lines that people often do, where, for instance, if you're buying your own train tickets and getting on, you're working out what train to catch, sorting it all out yourself, turning up somewhere, finding some accommodation, this less organized, more independent way of traveling, I think people will often see as backpacking. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll stay in dorms, and they might well have had a shower. One of the biggest stereotypes of backpackers is the smelliness of them.